Okay, I've got this as straight as I would like to make it. I'll put it that way. It's not ruler straight because it would look unnatural, but the lines are now back intact. And the next order of business is to make this newly natural wood looking area here as the same texture as the surrounding finish, and also to take this area that was routed by that I pointed out in this, I think it was the second video, where the little drill bit, typically a snapped off drill bit was what they actually used for this, where it was pushed through there, but the edges are too sharp and clean to be convincing. So the tool in this case you've also seen before, but I will describe this again because it's the slickest thing since sliced bread for restorers and pipe makers. They're 3M bristle brushes, and they come in little, now there's 4 of them on there. They're just a single layer. They're punched out, and it's a very tough, I'm assuming nylon-ish material that has been molded with grains of sharp stuff, grit, abrasive particles are actually molded into them, so as the surface of the plastic wears away, it exposes new cutting surfaces. So these things last forever and continue to work until they're finally gone. The 3/4 inch seems to be the size I find myself using the most, and they run from 80 grit up to a micron. Now 80 grit's not quite as rough as you think, but they're relative to themselves, but it's fairly aggressive. And stack them up. I use 4. You could put 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever you want, and you thread them on a screw and then screw that into the end of a piece of rod here that's designed for the task. And these little, they call them mandrels, are like $2 or something. And I would strongly suggest getting enough mandrels that you can preload the little wheels and not have to take the stack off and put on the next grit. Make yourself a little set of them, and you'll find yourself using them for all kinds of things, from cleaning pipes to shining hard to reach areas to putting on the rough stuff and retexturing. There's plenty more besides that. So the final thing, I mentioned all this before, but again, I think it's worth it again. You need, if you're right-handed, the ejecta from this thing spinning is going to end up going right up your nose because it's going to rotate this way, and it'll fire it at a higher rate of speed right in your face. You want to get a motor that's reversible so that it'll spin counterclockwise. And if you do that, then what gets spit out will go away from you and not be an irritant. Won't get in your eyes and up your nose and all that. But that's brand specific. Some of these Fordham and Dremel tools are reversible and others are not. So that's up to you. So we're going to go after this now a little bit. And you want to line up with what grain you can see and enhance or accentuate what's there. And whether or not we actually need to be carving this with something a little more rugged first is yet to be determined. It kind of depends on wood hardness and how it responds. So I'm going to give it a go with just the wheel, and we might end up backpedaling a little bit and using a steel tip on there. Yep, I can tell already it's fairly sturdy wood, and it's going to require a bit of texturing with a cutting tool before we use the 3M wheels on it. So I'm going to go to the carousel and find something that looks Just like what we need here. Decisions, decisions. Okay, those of you who have asked for more of show and tell here, be careful what you wish for, because this is it. Okay, I've got a little teardrop shaped cutter on there that I figure the tip of it's sharp enough we can make some little scratchy lines, and the body of it is enough to remove some wood but not look like a cylinder did it, like a parallel sided cylinder. So give it a shot here. Yeah, these old pipes are like stone. That's some hard wood. It's coming along. Try to match your surroundings. If you've worked with briar much, you know it can be pretty much any configuration and combination of shapes that you can think of, from little pin dot holes to waves like the ocean. And you just continue whatever you find into this recently sanded wood. Carry that texture over, because it wouldn't have changed from in that length of time, or that distance rather. Okay, almost there. It's looking good to me. And our final order of business is going to be to take these sharp-edged grooves that were cut in by the last guy and softening their edges a little bit. Making it sloppier is really kind of the way to sum that up. Okay, time to go back to the 3M starfish here. Okay, I've been watching this little timer and it's getting up to about 13.5 minutes, which is long enough for any segment of this. I'm still going to play with this just a little longer, but no need to record it. You've seen it in action. And when I come back, we'll move on to the next step.